Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Really quick, before we get started today, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out when we drop new content.
Yeah, please do. It really helps us out.
It really does. So, um, just a bit of housekeeping right up top. We need to give you guys a quick update on the whole Martin Stevens versus OpenAI matter.
Right, because there's been a lot of confusion online about this.
Exactly. So, just to clarify right now, this is not a lawsuit. There's a voluntary quiet period right now, and that was actually at Martin's request.
Yeah, and we want to be super clear on this next part. The dead man's switch is not activated.
Right. Martin is totally safe, both physically and legally.
Yeah, we aren't implying any sort of settlement is underway or anything like that. Just a quiet period.
Exactly. Just wanted to clear the air there. So moving on to today's topic, have you ever, just looked up at the sky on a clear day and looked at a cumulus cloud?
Sure. Yeah, just a fluffy white cloud.
Right. It looks like this completely weightless, fluffy thing just sort of drifting along. But if you actually talk to meteorologists, they'll tell you that a single average-sized cumulus cloud can weigh over 1,000,000 pounds.
Wait, really? 1,000,000 pounds?
Yeah, it's just dispersed water weight. So to the naked eye, it looks like literally nothing. But the physical mass hanging over your head is just staggering.
Honestly, that is the perfect metaphor for the digital cloud, right? The one we all use every single day.
Oh, 100%. Because we are so conditioned to think of our emails, our photo backups, and especially our AI chatbots as this, I don't know, invisible, weightless mist just living out there in the ether.
Right. But today's deep dive is really about the violent collision between that digital illusion and very heavy, very grounded physical reality.
Yeah, we are looking at the massive industrial-scale resource drain of modern AI data centers.
Mm.
And more importantly, we're looking at the fierce citizen backlash sweeping across the country as these things move into residential neighborhoods.
And to do this, we are pulling from a really diverse stack of sources for you. We've got local news reports from Fox 32 and NPR out in Indiana and Illinois.
We also have deep technical analyses from Tom's Hardware and Gizmodo.
Right, plus academic studies from Ball State University, data from the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, the Fordham Law Review, and even federal legislative proposals like the Price Act, alongside actual grassroots community filings.
Yeah, so our mission today is to unpack for you exactly why the cloud is suddenly landing with a massive thud right in your backyard. We're going to explore what that means for your monthly utility bills, your local environment, and how communities are actually organizing to fight back.
It's a huge shift.
It is.
Yep.
So before we look at the neighborhood zoning fights, I feel like we first need to understand the mechanics. Like, why do these new AI facilities require so much more physical infrastructure compared to the, regular internet data centers we were building just 10 or 15 years ago?
Well, it requires a complete paradigm shift in how we think about computing.
Okay, how so?
So conventional data centers, the ones built in the 2010s to hold your photos or just host a website, they mainly just stored information and retrieved it when you asked.
Like a digital filing cabinet.
Exactly. But modern AI systems are entirely different beasts. I mean, they have to train on massive data sets, they perform incredibly complex math in real time, and run these super heavy predictive models. The hardware required for that is literally industrial.
So give me a sense of the scale here. Let's treat a single AI query like a physical manufacturing process. If I say type a prompt into an AI image generator, what is physically happening out there in the real world?
Okay, let's look at the Fordham Law Review from our sources because they break this down remarkably well. A single average ChatGPT query uses about 0.34 watt-hours of electricity.
Okay, what does that actually mean for everyday life?
To put that into perspective, that is the exact equivalent of powering a standard kitchen oven for 1 full second.
Oh, wow. Just for one query.
It's to one query. And to keep the servers from overheating while they do that complex math, it consumes about 1/15 of a teaspoon of water for cooling.
Okay, I mean, 1/15 of a teaspoon sounds like a literal drop in the bucket.
It does, right. But obviously you have to scale that up. There are millions of people using these tools every single minute of the day.
Right.
These systems process over 2 billion queries a day. So if you type "thank you" into an AI chatbot and the AI just replies "you are welcome," that single brief exchange uses 40 to 50 milliliters of water.
That's crazy. So when you scale that up over billions of interactions.
Yeah, the projections show that AI hyperscalers are driving a 165% increase in data center electricity demand by 2030.
A 165% increase.
Yeah,
And a lot of that power is going straight to the GPUs, right? The graphics processing units.
exactly. The GPUs are basically the workhorses of artificial intelligence.
Right.
A single modern AI GPU consumes up to 3.7 megawatt hours of power annually.
Wait, 3.7 megawatt hours just for one chip.
Yes. And for context, an average American home uses about 10 megawatt hours in an entire year.
Oh my gosh. So just 3 of these little computer chips use as much power as your entire house uses in a year.
Exactly. And a single data center houses tens of thousands of them.
Tens of thousands. And obviously all of that electricity turns into heat, which I guess brings us back to the water usage you mentioned.
Right, because you can't just cool a massive facility like that with standard air conditioning. It wouldn't work. Data centers use something called evaporative cooling.
Which is what exactly? Is it like a car radiator?
Not really. They aren't just circulating water in a closed loop like your car's radiator.
Yeah.
They are actively evaporating it into the atmosphere to pull the extreme heat away from the servers.
I gotcha.
Because of this, larger data centers use 1 to 5 million gallons of water every single day just to keep the equipment from melting.
That is insane.
It is the daily water usage of a town of up to 50,000 people.
So, knowing the immense industrial-scale resources these facilities require, it totally makes sense why dropping them next to residential subdivisions is causing extreme friction. Which brings us to a massive ongoing controversy in Hobart, Indiana.
Right, Hobart is a perfect case study for this.
Oh, wait, let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Hmm.
We hear all the time about towns basically begging companies like Amazon or Google to bring, a $7 billion project to their area. They offer massive tax breaks. Isn't this supposed to be a massive economic windfall for the locals? Like, don't these centers bring jobs?
I mean, that is definitely the standard pitch developers make, but the reality on the ground is proving to be quite different.
Okay, how so?
Well, Dr. Michael Hicks authored a study at Ball State University that specifically analyzed the economic impact of these centers in Indiana. The study found that these data centers provide almost zero local economic or job benefits.
Wait, zero? How is that even possible for a multi-billion-dollar facility?
Because they are essentially giant, highly automated ghost ships. You have massive warehouses completely filled with servers, but it only takes a handful of specialized technicians and security guards to run them.
Oh, right. Because the computers are doing all the work.
Exactly. But despite this reality, states have been giving away historic tax incentives to attract them. Dr. Hicks actually calls this a collapse of judgment by legislators.
A collapse of judgment. That's a strong phrase.
It is, but he argues they were blinded by a rush to attract the newest tech fad. They treated these facilities as if they were like 1980s car manufacturing plants that would employ thousands of locals.
So the jobs aren't showing up, but the financial costs to the community certainly are. And in Hobart, the way they are building the utility structures is incredibly controversial. I was reading through the sources about this Genco subsidiary that the local utility NIPSCO set up.
Yes, Jingo.
Am I misreading this, or does it look like a complete financial shell game designed to just bypass public oversight?
It is a highly contested model, and consumer advocacy groups definitely share your exact concern. Here's how it basically works. NIPSCO, which is the primary utility provider in northern Indiana, created a first-of-its-kind subsidiary called Genco.
Okay.
The stated purpose of Genco is to negotiate directly with the data center developers to build new power plants at a really accelerated pace.
Right.
By doing this through a subsidiary, they bypass normal public scrutiny and the regulatory oversight that a public utility usually faces. NIPSCO claims this structure isolates the economic risk and actually protects everyday customers.
But the Citizens Action Coalition is pointing out the massive flaw in that logic.
Yeah.
Because NIPSCO still has to sign an agreement to purchase that newly generated power from Genco and then supply it to the data centers.
Exactly.
So if the tech bubble bursts in 5 years
Yeah.
and these AI companies go bankrupt, the ratepayers, like just the regular citizens, are still fundamentally exposed. They will be the ones paying off the loans for these massive empty power plants.
Precisely.
Right.
And because the special contracts between NIPSCO and the data centers are kept private, residents are essentially kept in the dark about the exact financial risks they are quietly underwriting.
And we are already seeing the human toll of this infrastructure buildup right now. Just look at Jennifer Williams, a mother in Hobart.
Yeah, her story was really striking.
It really was. According to the reporting, she had to start babysitting and selling her kids' old clothes online just to make ends meet because her electric bill suddenly spiked from $200 a month to $380.
Wow.
And the data center isn't even fully operational yet. She actually stated, "My NIPS Go bill is for my home, not for a data center. I don't want to foot the bill for something that I don't even want across the street from my house."
Her frustration is really the epicenter of the grassroots pushback in Hobart. Residents are actively fighting the city's fast-tracked approvals. For example, another resident, Angelita Soriano, is currently suing the city.
Oh, really? On what grounds?
She is challenging the tax abatements and fill permits. Her argument is that these critical approvals are being handed out before full site plans are even reviewed, which completely subverts public oversight.
And it is getting incredibly heated over there. During one of the public meetings, a resident named Pablo Payan was literally arrested.
Yeah, that video was wild.
Video from Fox 32 actually shows him being escorted out by police and charged with criminal trespass and disorderly conduct.
Damn.
And the reason? He simply refused to provide his name and address into the public record before making his comment.
Right.
The city claims it's just a rule for accurate record keeping, but residents feel it is a blatant intimidation tactic to silence dissent. They also point out that Angelita Soriano was removed from a meeting for exceeding her speaking time, while an NIPSCO representative was allowed to speak freely without any interruption.
When you look at those incidents, it really highlights a deep breakdown in community trust. Citizens feel they are bearing the physical and financial burdens of this industrial infrastructure, but are being completely denied basic due process and transparency. And when that happens, local zoning meetings turn into passionate and sometimes literal battlegrounds.
Absolutely. But Hobart isn't just an isolated incident of local mismanagement. The financial burden shifting to citizens in Indiana really reflects a systemic shock that is currently tearing through the nation's broader power grid. Let's look at the Gizmodo and Zero Hedge reports.
Yeah, they focus on the PJM interconnection grid.
Right. And for those who don't know, PJM is the largest wholesale electric power market in the U.S. It serves 67 million people across 13 states in the East and Midwest. And in early 2026, wholesale electricity prices there spiked a massive 76%.
That is a staggering jump in a highly regulated market. Prices went from $77.78 to $136.53 per megawatt hour.
That's a huge jump.
It is. And the independent market monitor for PJM was incredibly blunt in their report. They explicitly stated that data center load growth is the primary reason for these high prices and the dangerously tight supply and demand balance.
So let's unpack the mechanics of this for the listener. How exactly does a data center being built in another state cause a regular citizen's utility bill to skyrocket? Like, how does that grid mechanism actually work?
It really comes down to how the power grid balances supply and demand. Electricity cannot easily be stored on a massive scale. I mean, it basically has to be generated in the exact moment it is consumed.
Right.
So think of the grid's power supply in two tiers. You have base load power, which is often cheaper, continuous sources like nuclear, hydro, or large natural gas plants.
Okay, and the second tier.
Then you have peaker plants. These are expensive, less efficient plants that are only turned on when demand spikes, like on a really hot summer day when literally everyone runs their air conditioner.
Okay, so the data center comes into town. What happens then?
A hyperscale data center operates 24/7.
24/7, always on.
Right. It is a massive, unyielding drain on the grid. So it essentially swallows up the available cheaper baseload capacity. So to meet the remaining daily demand from regular homes and businesses, the utility is forced to constantly fire up those secondary, highly expensive peaker plants.
Oh, I see.
On top of that, they have to build entirely new multi-billion-dollar transmission lines just to route all this electricity to the data centers.
Yeah, the cost of those new lines and that expensive peaker generation gets baked into the wholesale price, which ultimately trickles down to everyone's monthly bill.
Exactly.
Look at Maryland. Citizens there were slapped with a staggering $2 billion grid upgrade bill specifically to support out-of-state AI data centers. $2 billion.
Which is exactly why you need to look closely at your own utility bills right now. If you live anywhere near these major grid interconnects, even if there isn't a data center directly in your ZIP code, you are likely already quietly subsidizing the AI boom without realizing it.
But, financial costs are just numbers on a spreadsheet. The reason this issue is boiling over into actual protests, where a recent Gallup poll actually shows that 70% of Americans now actively oppose having data centers built near their homes, is because of the physical disruption.
Right, that 70% figure makes them statistically less popular than nuclear power plants.
Exactly. It's because of what happens when you stand in your driveway and look across the street. I have to ask, though. I understand the power grid stress, but at the end of the day, it's just a building full of computers. Yeah. How physically disruptive can it actually be to live next door?
It is far more disruptive than people realize because these are not quiet office buildings. The Environmental and Energy Study Institute notes that data centers produce continuous mechanical noise.
Like what?
It is basically the sound profile of a heavy industrial manufacturing plant operating 24/7.
And it's not just the hum of thousands of laptop fans, right? There is a phenomenon mentioned in the Tom's Hardware reporting called infrasound. What exactly is that?
Infrasound is deeply concerning for residents, and it's a huge source of these zoning fights. Infrasound consists of low-frequency acoustic waves.
Oh.
These waves don't always register on standard decibel meters used by city planners. You don't necessarily hear it like a loud siren, you physically feel it.
Oh, what?
Because the frequency is so low, it penetrates straight through the walls of a house.
So you can't just, like, put up a sound barrier on the highway to block it.
Exactly. Your body literally absorbs the vibration. Residents living near these facilities allege that this constant low-level vibration vibrates the fluid in their inner ears.
That's terrifying.
They report chronic insomnia, nausea, vertigo, and severe anxiety.
That sounds like an absolute nightmare. You are lying in bed trying to sleep. The city's decibel meter says it's technically quiet, but your walls and your actual body are subtly vibrating.
Right.
And then on top of the infrasound from the cooling systems, you have the backup generators.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue. AI data centers cannot afford to lose power for even a single second. So to ensure they never go offline, they install massive diesel backup generators.
Like the ones you buy at the hardware store.
No, we aren't talking about a little generator for your house. We are talking about dozens of massive industrial turbines bolted to the concrete.
Dozens of them.
Yeah. They essentially sound like jet engines. And they don't just sit there quietly until an emergency. They run continuously for routine testing, sometimes up to 50 hours a year.
Jeez.
When they fire up, the site can reach the noise level of an active airport runway.
Which completely explains why local zoning laws are just failing to handle this. Let's look at what happened in Missouri and Michigan. In Peculiar, Missouri, a developer named Diode Ventures tried to use a zoning loophole.
Right.
The town had a light industrial district that allowed for computer manufacturing. So Diode basically argued that a data center fit that description perfectly.
But light industrial traditionally meant an assembly line, not a massive facility generating jet engine noise and evaporating millions of gallons of water.
Exactly.
And the citizens pushed back hard on that. One resident even presented evidence that an appraiser told her the project would devalue her property from $825,000 straight down to $710,000.
Over $100,000 just wiped out.
Yeah. Facing that level of organized resistance, Diode withdrew their application, and the town enacted an emergency 100-day moratorium just to rewrite their outdated zoning laws.
And in Saline, Michigan, the clash went straight into the courtroom. A developer called Related Digital actually sued the town for exclusionary zoning after their project was denied by the local board.
Wow.
They ultimately settled, but the town forced strict conditions, 75-foot setbacks and a complete ban on high water use evaporative cooling. It proves the point you made earlier.
Yeah.
Data centers are fundamentally incompatible with light industrial or residential zoning due to these extreme physical externalities.
Exactly. So the obvious question becomes, how do we actually solve this?
Yeah.
With citizens revolting, local governments freezing permits, and power grids maxing out, federal politicians and tech innovators are scrambling to find ways to power the AI boom without destroying local communities.
Let's look at the legislative angle first. At the federal level, Representatives Menendez and Cesar have proposed the Price Act.
Right.
Just reporting purely on the text of the bill, it attempts to force data centers to generate their own electricity, mandating they use 75% renewable energy by 2035. It also forces the EPA to actively track their air and water footprints.
It is an attempt to internalize the costs. The bill forces the companies to pay for their own power generation rather than externalizing that burden onto the public grid.
Which makes sense.
We are also seeing creative regulatory approaches at the state level. Consider what Indiana Michigan Power, or I&M, is doing. They brokered a deal requiring tech giants to pay massive upfront collateral up to 24 times their maximum expected electric bill in the first year alone.
That is a serious financial safety net. If the AI tech bubble bursts and these companies fold, the ratepayers aren't left holding the bag for billions in useless grid upgrades.
Exactly.
But, beyond legislation, my absolute favorite part of our research stack is this wild, unconventional tech solution from Fast Company.
Oh, you mean the span nodes?
Yes, Span is basically pitching an Airbnb for AI processing. Their argument is that instead of building one massive, loud warehouse that angers the whole town, why not distribute the load?
It's an interesting concept.
They want to attach mini data centers, basically HVAC-sized boxes full of NVIDIA GPUs, directly to the sides of regular residential homes. Span says the average home only uses about 42% of the power allocated to it by the grid.
Right.
So their smart boxes would use your home's untapped power allotment to run AI networks. In exchange, you host this box, and Span pays a big chunk of your home's electric and broadband bills.
It is certainly a creative approach to the power bottleneck, but if we connect this to the physics of the grid, we have to analyze it critically. Do these decentralized GPU boxes on your house actually solve the core resource deficit, or do they just spread the massive burden of AI around differently?
I mean, it's like trying to plug an industrial vacuum cleaner into a single bedroom outlet, right? It doesn't matter if you attach a smart node to it, the house's wiring wasn't built for that.
Precisely. Fast Company points out the infrastructure reality here. Neighborhood transformers are designed for residential load curves. Power usage spikes in the morning when people wake up, it dips during the day, spikes again at dinner, and drops very low overnight.
Right, because everyone is asleep.
And the transformers need that overnight dip to literally cool down. But a GPU node runs at 100% capacity, 24/7.
Oh, I see the problem.
If neighborhood transformers run incredibly hot all night and degrade quickly because of these boxes, the grid maintenance costs still go up. It doesn't magically create more electricity. It just changes the delivery method and potentially melts local transformers in the process.
Which brings us to the core truth we've explored in this deep dive. Artificial intelligence is not a magical, invisible entity living in the ether. It is a heavy, resource-hungry, physical industry. It relies entirely on our collective land, our water, and our shared power grids.
And that physical reality is exactly why we are seeing such an unprecedented clash between digital ambition and community boundaries.
So as we wrap up today, we want to leave you with a lingering, big-picture question to mull over. We've seen that the relentless expansion of artificial intelligence requires an astonishing amount of raw, physical power, and that it is facing fierce local resistance. So, will the ultimate limit on AI's potential be dictated not by software engineers writing code or scientists designing new microchips, but by local zoning boards, water rights, and neighborhood homeowners simply standing in their driveways and saying, "Not in my backyard"?
It's a fascinating thought. The ultimate ceiling for artificial intelligence might not be code at all. It might simply be concrete, water, and community consent.
Exactly. We started today talking about how a fluffy, innocent-looking cloud can actually weigh 1,000,000 pounds. As AI continues to scale, that digital cloud is going to get heavier and heavier. And right now, it's local neighborhoods that are feeling the crushing weight of that physical reality.
Very well said.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep asking questions and remember to like, subscribe, follow, and hit that notification bell so you catch our next deep dive. We'll see you next time.